Hello people, welcome to the video series where we'll learn the fundamentals of programming and the Kotlin programming language following along Codecademy's Learn Kotlin interactive course. This is Safa, an Android developer and trainer, and in this series I will be your tutor. Some disclaimer before we start. I'm not affiliated with or working for Codecademy. I'm just a person who loves their tutorials and who wants to create a video walkthrough of the Kotlin course they created. If you like to work with interactive tutorials, you can stop this video now and go exercise yourself in Codecademy and come to this video series whenever you're stuck with something at some exercise. But if you're like more of a video tutorial person, then you can watch me complete this course while you keep Codecademy open and code with me at the same time. It's all up to you. Now let's get started. First thing you need to do is to go sign up to Codecademy if you haven't already, and then visit codecademy.com/learn/learn Kotlin. I'm already logged in, so I can start from the first exercise. Let's try to understand how Codecademy courses work. Usually, you have some set of instructions here in this left-hand side, and then there will be some coding panel, which we'll see very soon. And then you go ahead and read the instructions and try to complete some small tasks by coding something and passing these exercises. And exercise by exercise, you'll learn the fundamentals of programming and fundamentals of the Kotlin language in this easy to digest course. Cool. Let's start by reading. What is Kotlin? Welcome to the world of coding with Kotlin. Kotlin is a programming language that is released in 2016 by JetBrains, and now it's very popular because it is now the official language for programming Android development. And also you can create websites, or you can use Kotlin for data science, or you can use it for building games and such. So it's a general purpose programming language. But that being said, Android development, I guess, is the most common use case where lots of developers around the globe are using Kotlin. So the following applications, Codecademy says, use Kotlin in their tech stack: Netflix, Duolingo, Pinterest, and much more. Throughout this lesson, we'll learn about Kotlin syntax and how to run a basic program. Syntax means here rules of this language, like how you should type and which symbol comes after which, and where you should white spaces and where you should not. This kind of rules is called syntax, okay? So take a look at the image to the right here. Cody, which is the mascot of Codecademy, is starting on the path to Dev City. Here is the Dev City, cool, and bunch of colors and lights inside, which is filled with mobile apps, websites, and other applications. In order to reach Dev City, one must journey through various landscapes like Variable Valley, Conditional Creek, Land of Loops, and Function Forest. In fact, this journey to Dev City is quite similar to the sequence of topics you'll encounter throughout the course. So yeah, we're gonna learn variables, then conditionals, then loops and functions, and there's also exercises about classes and some other topics like data types and such. So let's hit next and see what is up. Okay, let's write our first Kotlin program. So this is the screen you'll usually see throughout this course. There's this instructions panel, and there is this code editor, and there is this console where you can see the output of your code. Here we have a run button, and after we run this, the computer will execute this code you write, and you'll see the output here. Okay. By the way, it says Please take a note of the file name we are writing this into. It has the extension .kt, and it is the file extension of Kotlin. Okay, so the KT extension signifies that the file contains some Kotlin code. In our code editor, this one, there is a short Kotlin program. Yeah, that one. Don't worry about understanding what this code means. All this program does is to print the text hello world to the output terminal or the console. You can call it an output terminal, a console, and this displays our code's final output. So to pass this thing, it was not checked before, the checkbox. I needed to run this app. Since I already did, the program is run, and now I can go to the next exercise. Next exercise talks about the main function. Main function is the starting point of Kotlin programs. So as Codecademy says, in Kotlin, the journey begins in the main function. It is the starting point of our code. So let's say you have multiple files of code, or like in a file you have thousands of lines of code, let's say. The starting point will always be main function. This is called the main function, and this is the body of the function, okay? So func keyword declares a function, and main is the name of this function, and there is an empty pair of parentheses, and then a pair of curly brackets or braces, and inside these braces, or in between these braces, you see some code, and this code is executed when a Kotlin program is run. Okay, let's reset this so that we can code by ourselves. Okay, so code that is written inside the curly brackets is considered the body of a function. When we hit enter to create a new line of code inside the body, the code will be automatically indent itself. Indenting is also important to make your code legible, readable. So I suggest you follow the code conventions and all the formatting conventions Codecademy talks about. Okay, so copying and pasting this code, but with the function empty, running this will make us pass the first task. And the second task is to type println, which is a command to print some text here to the output console. We're gonna print coding is fun! Running this, we can pass this exercise as well. But if you, let's say, forget to put this exclamation mark and run this program, there won't be any errors in here in Kotlin side, but Codecademy may want you to correct your string to the exact thing it wants. Okay, so be careful with that. If you, let's say, if you put instead of a capital C, if you put a small c here in the initial letter, again, this does not mean the task will be approved by Codecademy. So you need to be careful with every letter, every capitalization, every symbol and such, okay? And most of the white space. Cool. Let's go to the next exercise. Here, we're gonna learn about print statements. Let's read along. In the last exercise, we were able to display the text "Coding is fun" in the output terminal with the following code. Yes, I remember. We accomplished this using a print statement. A print statement outputs values to the terminal. Yes, okay, we know that already. When we want to use a print statement in Kotlin, we use a println function which prints a value before creating a new line in the output terminal. For example, if you run this, it'll print to infinity and beyond. Something you need to take note of here, we use double quotes to represent texts, okay? Some more detail will come about this soon, but here, inside of this println, if we want a text to be displayed as is, then we use this double quotes, a pair of double quotes. We can ignore these double quotes if we want to make some arithmetic operations like this. Okay, so if you type println 5 plus 5, it'll output 10. Kotlin compiler or the program, let's say, will understand that this is 10, 5 plus 1, 5 plus 5 is 10, and it'll println 10. Okay, it'll print 10. So if you instead type this, by the way, don't forget to put one tab here, okay? I always use tab here to indent my code. So if you put by mistake a double quote pair and run this app, then what you'll see on the output terminal is 5.5, okay? So this is coming from Codecademy's side. This is a warning, or like this is like a failure message because we couldn't pass this. Running the code makes Codecademy makes Codecademy check our code and then evaluate if we pass this exercise or not. So let's finish this before coming to here. Instead of println, we can also use print without the ln, and this will also print to the output terminal, but does not move the cursor to the next line. So let's inspect this. Okay, if we write this piece of code like this, println will print 1 to the first line and then move the cursor to the next line. But print, after printing 2, won't move it to the next line, and the cursor will stay at the same line. And when you print again a 3, then 2 and 3 will be at the same line. So let's run this and see it with our eyes. Yeah, as you can see, after printing 1, since this is println, I think ln comes from line, okay? If you use this one after printing the content, you can think that it presses enter key, okay? Like it moves the cursor to the next line in the console. And when you print 2, since this is not println, it won't move the cursor to the next line. It'll stay here after the letter O. And then when you print 3, it prints 3 here. Cool. So now the exercise we need to pass. It says in printkt is this file we own, use println to output just keep swimming. Okay, I'm gonna delete these and then place this text inside of println, and do not forget this pair of double quotes. And the reason, if you try to run this code like this, you'll get some nasty errors and you cannot understand what's going on. But actually, if you watch closely, you'll see that some small caret is pointing to somewhere. It detects the error, and it is here, more or less. So we need to put our double quotes. Also, if you put extra double quotes, it'll again complain and give lots of errors again. So please be careful, okay? It needs, when you're printing a text, you need to enclose the text with double quotes. Cool. And it'll turn into yellow. You can understand it by that, like visually. Okay, let's run this now and see that just keep swimming is printed here. The failure message went away, and now we have a check mark in our first exercise or first task. So in the second task, we need to use print to output the statement 15 times 4. We could use println as well, but since it wanted us to use print, we will just use print. And let's run this and see 60 is calculated and printed. Cool. Let's go to the next exercise. Order of execution. Similar to instructions in a recipe, code is read, compiled and executed in a top-down order. That means your computer will read and evaluate this code and execute it, and then this one, and then this one. Okay, it doesn't go from bottom to top or in random order. It follows line by line like this, or expression by expression, or statement by statement. Okay, so it talks about some other thing here. You can learn this as some background information. When you run this program, Kotlin compiler translates this code into Java bytecode. Java bytecode is something that can be read by Java Virtual Machine, JVM, and JVM is installed in different devices, so it can execute our code in machine level. Okay, so this is just to know, nothing you need to understand fully. This is a very technical topic, so let's skip that part and try to fix this task. It says use println to create a timeline for the great MUR of 1932. So these kind of references to specific events in the history, or some museums, or some other scientific facts and such, will be always here in Codecademy's course. It's to keep you engaged. You don't need to go and learn these things, but if you'd like to know, you can go visit the links and read about it. So long story short, it wants us to print these three strings one by one. To do that, we need to add three println statements. One should be this, and also you can like resize this window if you'd like, so that it'll fit in one line and will be more pleasing to our eyes. And then the second println statement, and the second string, and the third one with the third string. Some warning here: please use indentation. I will keep you aware all the time of this issue, because it's really important to learn this way. If you learn it in a wrong way, it'll stick as a bad habit. So it's better if you have this good habit of indenting your code properly. So to indent properly, delete all of the white space here in the beginning of your line, and then press tab 1 times, because we are in a block of code and this should be indented. Cool. Also, do not put like white spaces here and there, or do not forget putting double quotes. Okay, the former, like putting extra white spaces, won't break your code, but this will break your code. So keep your code tidied and proper. Cool. So let's run this and see if we pass or not. We passed it, so let's go to the next exercise. Now it's time to learn about comments. Comments allow us to write some documentation inside our programs, and these comments can be written to ourselves, our future self, or to our fellow developers working with us on the same code base, or to the readers of this course, because code can be open source and other people may want to read it or even contribute to it. So you can put some comments, and comments will be ignored by the Kotlin compiler and won't affect your code or the execution. The only thing it affects is it'll make your code documented, or maybe sometimes more readable. So let's see how we can write comments, add comments to our code. The first way in Kotlin is using a single line comment, which starts by // and then you write something and that becomes a command line and will be skipped by Kotlin program. Okay, this is not a code. This is just plain English. It can be any other language like Arabic or Turkish, but I suggest you to keep it in English so that you stick with the rest of your code, which includes some English words like main or print. Cool. This symbolizes the start of a command. Okay, note how the text appears in a command has a gray font color. Yes, so it's also visually different. If you like put this somewhere, let's say here, you'll see the color is gray, so it is different than the rest of the code. And second way of creating comments is using a comment block, and it is like this. You start with a slash asterisk and then you finish with asterisk slash, and anything you write in between will be some block of comments. Okay, like this. You can take any other you can take any note you want between this, and the whole thing will be ignored by the program and won't be executed. This is only for your human readers, not for the machine. Okay, and here we see an example of a poem, I guess. If you prick us, do we not bleed? If you tickle us, do we not love? If you poison us, do we not die? And if you wrong us, shall we not revenge? By William Shakespeare. It is not a common thing to put poetry inside your code, but Codecademy likes to use this kind of examples. So yeah, that is that. Cool, let's delete these and try to pass this exercise. In the instructions of the exercise, it says add the following text as a single line comment in commands KT. Code prints howdy partner to the terminal. Okay, let me do that. And also please use a space here, okay, to properly format your code. Do not put 2 spaces or do not put 0 spaces. 1 space always. Let's run this and see if we pass. Yeah, we passed it. And then we need to create a multi-line comment that describes what you have learned so far about programming with Kotlin. Cool, let's do that. A multi-line comment about what we learned. Kotlin is an awesome language. This is one thing we learned. And the second thing is we should always be careful with the white space. Okay, it sounded like I'm complaining, but yeah, I see this happen so frequently by the people I work with, like the students I train. So I want to keep you aware of this issue all the time. Please indent your code carefully. Do not put extra white space if it's not necessary, and put the necessary white space if it's necessary. Cool. You'll know about when some white space is necessary and when it's not if you follow along with me in this course. Cool. Let's run this and see if our multi-line command worked. Yes, it works. And you can also realize this code does not make their way into this output because it is skipped, it is ignored, it is omitted, however you want to call it. This is not for robots or machines yet. This is for human developers. Okay, let's go to the next one. Cool. Errors and bugs. While every programmer is different, there is one experience we all share: getting an error message. This is so true. An error or bug causes our programs to behave in unexpected ways. When we receive an error message, it's almost always because of something we wrote incorrectly in our code, usually we like to blame our computer, like, why isn't it not working, or like, why this stupid machine gives me errors. But no, 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 don't call your machine stupid. Nowadays they have lots of processing power, right? Like lots of cores, lots of gigahertz of CPU and such. No, 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 please blame yourself. Just kidding. Don't blame yourself, but know that it's because of something you write or something you didn't write or you forget to write. So, yeah, when we receive an error message, it's almost always because of us, and as a result, the compiler cannot translate our program and returns an error message. Do not expect too much from the computer. These are not AIs. These are just some mechanical things, okay? You can think them as like mechanical compilers. And if you break something, if you forget to put, let's say, this, okay, which is forgotten here, the closing parentheses, the program will go crazy. The compiler will go crazy. Like, what do you mean? What are you trying to do? And they never guess, okay? The compilers never guess what you're trying to do. They're not smart. They're not artificial intelligence. They are just simple compilers. And they want you to write good code without any mistakes, without any typos, without putting some weird characters, or without missing any of the necessary pieces of code. Cool. There are many different kinds of errors we can encounter. This may sound daunting, but luckily the Kotlin compiler provides accurate and descriptive error messages. Yeah, it says so, but most of the time the error message will be cryptic to you and you won't understand what is it talking about. And that's because you don't know enough jargon yet, but as time passes you'll learn more and more jargon, and when you see an error message, you'll in a fraction of a second you'll understand what is wrong with your code and go ahead and fix it. But in the beginning it might come unnatural to you, and you can just search these error messages in Google or in your favorite search engine to learn more about what does it mean. Cool. So for example, if this code is written and run, since it has 2n characters, we will get some syntax error. We know that it's error because it's red, but we also know it's an error because we see the error keyword. Sadly, when you have a warning, it's also red in Codecademy. Usually in some other environments, warnings are yellow or orange, but usually not red. But anyways, you can check if you see the keyword error. So this error message provides a lot of useful information. Error KT is the name of the file that contains the bug, sure. The first number, 2, tells us the line in which the error exists. Here, the first line and the second line, so second line it is. And the second number, 3rd, tells us the character number in which the error lives on that line. So it's 1, 2, and 3. So it's this println, it's pointing with this little caret, okay? The text following error describes what error we are encountering. It says unresolved reference println. Yeah, so you understand that println is or has some kind of error, and you go ahead and understand, okay, I have a typo here, and then you delete it and your code works. So let's do the same exercise here. If we run this code, you'll get some error. It says line 2 and character 54. Luckily, you don't need to count up to 54. It is pointed here with the caret. So it expects a closing parentheses here. This is one of the most self-explanatory error messages you're gonna get. Believe me, all of them will be worse than that and won't be this kind of self-explanatory messages. Okay, read the error message I read, fix the code I fixed in the editor so that it can execute properly. Check the hint for additional help. Yes, it's talking about the same thing. Cool. Now, the formatting conventions, the topic I've been talking about from the beginning, since the beginning of this video. I cannot help myself but fix the problems in this code because uh, this is really annoying. The format is not good here because it's not properly indented. There are lots of extra white space, and there are some semicolons we should not put. If you're coming from another language like Java, you might have a habit of putting semicolons after each line, but in Kotlin you need to stop that. Okay, you need to just let it go. There is no semicolon monster biting your back. Just leave it. And the curly brackets, sorry, are not aligned. So yeah, before this code gives me some headaches, I want to read this, and instead I'm gonna show it to you. So here there should be one space. Here I'm deleting it and pressing tab. Pressing tab, oops, not here, but pressing tab here. And then this should be just one tab or two spaces in this Codecademy's editor. One tab, one tab, one tab, one tab. This is not a formatting problem. It is because the text doesn't fit into this column. So if you make it bigger, you'll see it looks better. And lastly, we should not have this, and it is not the last, sorry, because we also need to fix this. Cool. Are there how many spaces here? Okay, one. Cool, just to be sure. Yeah. Yeah. The semicolons as well. I don't know if there are others. If you can spot any other formatting problems, let me know. Okay. Cool. Let's go and hit next and review what we have learned. We learned that Kotlin is a general purpose programming language. The main function is the starting point of all Kotlin programs. When we want to output something to the terminal, we use println or print. By the way, println is also pronounced println. I like it the println way, but it's also up to you. Code is read from top to bottom. Comments are used to explain what is happening in our code and will be omitted by the compiler. Language and syntax and rules. Learning a new language can feel daunting. Luckily, there are many online resources available, so you can check out these links: Kotlin language guide, and formatting guide, and style guide, and Codecademy forum. You can take a look at those. I will just read the instructions here. Take some time to practice using Kotlin in Review KT. Cool. Here are some ideas on what you can do. Create the main function. Let's do that. Main function. Print your age by subtracting the current year and your birth year. Okay. Print Lin. Current year is 2020. Yeah. 2020. And my birth year, 1994. Print your favorite quote. I don't have a favorite quote. Do you have a favorite quote? I don't have a favorite quote by Safar. Okay, now it's a quote. Was it like this? Maybe. And add comments about what your code is accomplishing. Yes. Printing my age. Printing a fake quote. Cool. Let's get rid of the extra white spaces and we are done here. Let's run this and finish this video. Okay, I'm 26 years old here and I don't have a favorite quote. It was a pleasure to teach you some Kotlin. See you in the next episode and goodbye.